is. I think it's quite cute. I think it's also quite lonely. It's a little baby Nyala, but it don't got no parents. And I don't know where they are. I mean, it must have parents. Of course, it's been born. I see some just at the far end there. Now, we are going at some stage towards a male lion who is not too far from where we are now, east of the Chitwa airstrip. I am, however, in no rush to get there because apparently he is fast asleep. Louise, you know how we use the word to describe when you use the wrong communication device? That word we're going to use now. Louise will now be fined, everybody, when we get back to camp. She will have to have a shot. Right.
She will not be shot.
She will not be shot. Well, not this time. Anyway, there's Nyala. I've lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. I didn't want to go towards the lion simply because he will be fast asleep. And I'm going to, while we watch that little Nyala attempt to reunite with its parents, or the Impala that I can see in the far distance. Oh, no, it's a Nyala friend. Isn't that sweet? I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the game drive language that we have here. And that lion has been described as Lala Steam. Now, what that means, literally, is sleep in Zulu. Steam is like a sort of... It comes from steam, the word steam meaning as in steam power. So Lala Steam means sleeping powerfully. And that apparently is what that lion is doing, of course, because that's what lions do most of the time. They Lala Steam. And so we are going to just potter around here in the clearings, and then as the sun goes down, we'll go towards the lion, and hopefully he will be no longer Lala Steam by the time we find him. This is the language that people use through the game drive radio. It is, to my mind, startlingly ridiculous, but it does happen, and it's very amusing. Hello, Mary. You're writing to us all the way from Whitefish Bay. I'd love to know where Whitefish Bay is. Sounds like quite a nice place to be. Whitefish, do you know where it is?
I don't, but I agree with you. It sounds
yes.
very nice.
Whitefish Bay. Mary, you say, what makes the night so dangerous? Well, in the darkness there are terrors, Mary. What did the Red Queen say in the Game of Thrones? For the night is dark and full of terrors. Mary, the only thing that makes it dangerous is the predators. The predators come out at night, the lions and the leopards and the hyenas, and they are confident at night because they are adapted well to seeing at night, where we are poorly adapted to seeing at night. And that means that if they find us on foot, they can tell almost immediately that you can't see, that you're unable to see properly. You sort of stumble around a bit, and you know it's obvious that we can't see. And when people do have a problem with wild animals on foot, it is often at night. So that's why we don't walk around at night. If you come across predators in the day, you have the advantage. They're normally afraid of us, but here's some wonderful Impala. But in the night, that sort of situation changes. There's a lovely... Oh, well, just look at those ones. Those are even better. Sorry, I started giggling there again because we had more game drive communications, which included the statement that elephant that we were looking at was Mushle Steam, which means powerfully beautiful, but with the most horrific kind of a butchered language. Now that Nyala he's eating, that's very interesting, he's eating the Gymnosporia or spikethorn tree, and what's fascinating about that is that they are stuffed full of tannins, but it's the second animal I've seen eating one today. The first one was that giraffe. That giraffe was eating the Gymnosporia buxifolia. Just Just look at this light. And see how the grass is changing colour now. It's not quite brown yet. It's not quite that yellow copper of the winter, but it's certainly losing the green flush. And there in the background you can see what we call a koppie. It's a granite outcrop, and I think that one is Struiskoppie on Mala Mala. And that will be probably the highest point in the Sabi Sand, if I'm not mistaken. Is there a pole on top of it? Yes, there is. That is Struiskoppie. The view from there is quite something, I imagine. I've never been up there, but I've been up similar ones on the same line. Marvellous. Well done, Fergus. You found Struiskoppie. Let us continue. Maybe let's have one last look at these impala, because they're rather beautiful as the sun starts to disappear. Marvellous afternoon, and in the background, of course, the grey go-away bird saying quack, quack, meaning that perhaps our time with these Nyala is finished. At least impala, they're not Nyala at all. He's also eating that little Vernonia flower. That's interesting. Now that impala was born end of November, December, so he's almost 6 months old, and I think it's just amazing how fast they grow. Really got his little horns. And well into the terrifying life of being an impala. Alrighty, let's move on from here. Oh. You know what that is, don't you, Fergus? It is a Stinkbug, but it has gone away. I'm very grateful, Steam. Let's head across to Tristan, who is at Treehouse Dam, probably Slalas Steam.
James, this is quite funny because James loves the commentary that goes on these radios and the absolute complete abuse of this language and how people butcher it around here, so that's why it is quite entertaining. Now, I've already passed Treehouse Dam. Unfortunately, there was very little sign of anything there. It was quite pretty with the afternoon light, but no sort of animals to speak of. Just the odd terrapin bobbing around in there, kind of hanging out and doing very little, so we need little Shongile to come and stir the pot and chase some terrapins around. I'm just trying to think actually when the last time she was seen. I think we saw her, Jamie saw her last in the rehearsals, when we were doing rehearsals for the TV shows. It was last week Friday. Yes, Friday afternoon was the last time we saw Shongile, and she was fine. She was looking very healthy and well. She was at Treehouse Dam, funny enough. So we're not sure where she went from there, because we had quite a bit of rain on Friday afternoon and Saturday morning, and so it became quite difficult to follow where the tracks went from there. But we think that she went sort of southwest a little bit. So that's why I'm just checking around all of these blocks, just seeing. You never know. Shongile seems to cover quite a big distance these days, so it's always worth just checking around and seeing if they can't find a track. The other problem with her is that because she's so small, her feet are very little and her body weight is not big, and so on these harder roads after the rain, before they soften up again and get powdery, it can be very easy to miss her tracks. And in fact, the day that we actually found her, we missed her tracks completely in the morning, and I think it was myself and somebody else drove over them in the morning, and luckily Herbie found them on foot and was able to then track them through. So hopefully we can find a clear sort of sign of her and find her from there. But it really is so pretty this morning, especially this area that we're in. If we have a look onto the right here, Craig, I don't know if it's going to come out, but let's try anyway. There's this beautiful grass that's growing that's all full of seed at the moment, and with this orange afternoon light. Isn't that pretty? Now, wouldn't it be nice if little Shongololo was just creeping through that golden grass? That would be quite nice. It'd be a bit of wishful thinking, but it would be really, really good if she was. Very nice. The afternoon, it's nothing better than a sort of golden afternoon. It really is very, very, very pretty at this time of the day, and it also goes quite quiet and the birds start to slow down a little bit. It's one of my favorite times of the day. Ooh, my teaser. You're wondering what animal I think most resembles my personality. Sure. I don't know. I think we'll have to ask Jamie and James and see what they think. Never really given it much thought, to be honest. Lou, what do you think? Lou's on at final control, so she's the voice in my ear. So let's ask Lou. She's always got a quick comeback to things. So Lou, if you've got any ideas, what do you think, Craig? A mountain goat. Gee, thanks, Craig. That's very kind of you. That comes from a Batman. So I've now been labelled a mountain goat by Craig. So Lou reckons I'm like a black bear. What about African animals, guys? Let's keep it local and see what we've got. I don't know. I'm not sure. I have never really given it much thought, to be honest. I suppose, what would I most like to be? Not really sure, actually. I always think if I was an animal, if I had to come back as an animal, I'd always love to be a big male elephant. The reason why is because no one really messes with you. You amble around, you cover large distances, you see amazing things, but you're not really threatened by anything other than man. So in a system like Kruger Park, it's really a cool system to be in. You just kind of live your days out, and if anyone does bother you, you just throw your weight around and that's the end of it, and it all kind of goes away, and it seems like a very sedate, very chilled, very relaxed life. Maybe that's why I like spending time with elephants so much. Could be because of that. And there's our infamous tree. So for those of you who weren't watching the day that we were on bushwalk, this particular tree over here actually fell over while we were walking past it. Well, not while we were right next to it, but we had just walked past slightly, and there was this sort of noise of elephants feeding close by, and I thought it was an elephant that had pushed over this massive marula, but it had been eaten through by termites, and it then fell behind us, and it made this almighty crash on the ground. And Herbie and I both got such a fright because we thought there was an elephant right behind us that had pushed over this tree and that we hadn't seen. And then we turned around and noticed that it was this big marula that had fallen. And luckily, it didn't fall anywhere near us while we walked past, because I think that you would have a rather large headache if that marula had to land on your head and would cause quite a bit of damage. Now I see that Rexon has been busy, so Rexon, who helps us on bushwalks, he's been doing some roads, as we can see over here. They've been graded nicely, and now when Rexon does this is always good for us, because when they've been graded, it creates a nice powdery smooth road, as you can see, and it makes it quite easy to see tracks. So we can be thankful that Rexon's done this. It will make life a little bit easier. Now while we cruise around in this late afternoon and think about what animal I would most like to relate to, let's go across to Jamie and see what she thinks.
Not such an easy question, is it? And we've arrived at the Aubrey's Road hyena den, which is clearly completely abandoned. The tunnels have fallen in. There's no sign of hyenas anywhere here, which we know that they're at Philemon's cut line. I just thought that it was worth checking, just to see whether or not, although there are aardvark flies here. They're not actually called aardvark flies, but they're a species of fly that's associated, hangs out around the entrance to aardvark burrows. You see them? I wonder. Could be an aardvark was living here. Don't see any sign of digging though. It doesn't look freshly dug. As far as I'm concerned, aardvark are mythical anyway. Still haven't seen one. Would be interesting. One day I'll see an aardvark. So, Tristan's been posed a difficult question. What animal would best represent him? We also both, Seb and myself, also thought bear for some reason, but now it has to be an African animal apparently. But we also thought bear or elephant. I could see the elephant. Seb and Herbie both say dwarf mongoose. Well, actually, Seb was the one who came up with it. They say dwarf mongoose for me. I guess so. Guess it's fitting. Have enough tick bites to be a dwarf mongoose. Do enough grooming. Matsikito, the name for a dwarf mongoose. Seb.
For you. Or a squirrel for you.
Or a squirrel. I think it's hard. Maybe that hungry squirrel this morning. There was alarm calling until it ate something. Lou says mongoose is better. I'm struggling with Seb and Herbie. I'm trying to think. I almost feel Herbie's definitely a social creature. Social animal. Seb, don't know.
I used to be.
You used to be. You're done with people. Lou says a crane or a heron, Seb.
For me?
For you? No.
I don't want to be a bird.
You don't want to be a bird? No, I don't think you're a bird. I think Steph's a bird. I think Steph's either a batelier or a martial eagle. That would be my thing for Steph. It's personal. I've always thought that about Steph for some reason. There's something in... Steph is a wonderful, wonderful boss and a very generous leader. But when you do something and he looks at you with feigned disapproval, it looks like that steely-eyed gaze of a bird of prey. I think Steph's either a martial eagle or a batelier. Oh, this is a difficult one. There's so many personalities. Brent, somewhere between a male lion and a wild dog.
What about a honey badger for Brent?
A honey badger for Brent. I nearly said something, but I'm not going to because otherwise... Yeah, I think either male lion or wild dog because he gets that excitement like a wild dog. And he also just is male lionish. He just has massive size and messy hair. I'm not commenting on the honey badger one because I've got someone else in mind, but I feel like there might be a deep insult. Yes, in a loud voice, Lou. So Brent, male lion. Oh, what other things? Who else is there that we could... Kirsty could be a honey badger. See if she's insulted or not. Kirsty apparently just went ha in final control. Kirsty was not the person I was thinking of though for a honey badger. Kirsty could be a cute little hedgehog. Really cute but also kind of prickly.
What is James?
What is James? Okay. No, porcupines aren't as cute. You're going to manage this obstacles course I've laid out for you. Or the elephants have laid out for you. Well done, Seb. What is James? What does James think he is? That's the next question. It's actually quite a telling question, isn't it? Between what people say you are and what you think you are.
Yeah, what you want to be.
Yeah, you see, I thought I was a leopard or a or a tiger or I'm big at heart. So a dwarf mongoose though, so I guess it kind of makes sense. Where's Herbie going? He's going this way. Okay, he's decided we're going this way. Okay. I'm going to think about what I think James might be, but let's hear it from the man himself.
I'm not sure what I think I am, everybody. We're just trying to find this lion at the moment, and I'm failing dismally at the moment to figure out where on earth he is. And this chap in front of me is now turning round, and maybe he's got a better idea, so let's just ask him, and then I will tell you what animal I think I am. Good afternoon. Are you going to the lion?
Yes, well, we are now.
Oh, you weren't before.
We were, but we're keeping it a surprise.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, it'll still be a surprise because I can't find where he is. Do you know where he is?
Yeah, he's somewhere this side.
Okay, cool. I'll follow you. Sorry about that.
And the old surprise party trick.
Surprise. I'm sorry. I never used to do that as a guide, so I just assumed that they would know exactly where they were going. Oh, that's very embarrassing. I feel dreadful now. My heart is in my toes. Sorry about that. He's never going to speak to me again. The animal that I thought, what is the most embarrassing animal in the world? Me, other than me, what would be an embarrassing animal, Fergus? I don't know. I don't think he's going the right way. We're going to go down here. Pinchy Whiner. Pinchy Whiner, why are we going to go down here? Let's just go down here and have a quick look, because I thought maybe there were some tracks going down here and the tracks went off the road here. I don't know what to say anymore. He is so acid with me now, he doesn't know what to say. Right, I think that I am probably, I probably show similar traits to a honey badger sometimes. I can be quite, well, quite aggressive at times, perhaps, sort of honey badgerish.
Honey badgers are quite flexible, they can get their foot in their mouth or something.
Yes, they can get their feet in their mouths. Very, very good point there, Fergus. Thank you for that. What else? I was likened to a dachshund at one stage by an ex-friend of mine. He stopped being my friend after he called me a dachshund, which is my worst dog in the world. So I wasn't very pleased with that. In terms of other wild animals, of course everybody likes to think of themselves as being like a leopard or like a lion or like an elephant. I'm not sure that I'm any of those things. You know what? It's better when people decide, who know you better than you know yourself, decide. So I tell you what, why don't you tell me? You've been watching me now for nigh on 2 years. It'll be 2 years in about 4 days' time. What animal do you think suits me best? Fergus, you shut up. We'll allow Louise to answer, perhaps. Louise, what do you think? Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. You obviously also want to be my ex-friend. You say that I'm like a ground hornbill. Thank you. Thank you. I think. I don't think I want to be like a ground hornbill. Tortoise eating. Fairly unattractive. I suppose I might be compared with a marabou stork. Andreen, you say a baboon or a vervet monkey. I'll take monkey. I'm not going to take baboon. They're a bit smelly, really. Anyway, that chap can't find his lion either. And Daniel, you say a porcupine. God, you lot are really doing a superb job of building up my ego this afternoon. A porcupine. Thank you. What do you think, Louise? Louise thinks porcupines are pretty and not to be trifled with. Prickly. Right. Right, okay, thank you. Thank you, Fergus. You may now be quiet. We're on the road. I'm just listening to the radio. I am deeply confused. We'll keep looking. He's not talking to me at all anymore. He can't even look at me. I've ruined his life. Oh well. We're going to keep looking for the lion on our own. We're going to have to follow him, of course, because he's not going to let us in. This is very embarrassing. Louise, you might want to give us a few minutes to try and find this thing. Although... No, he's not in here. Sorry about this, everybody. Apparently, we are, however, about to go steaming across to the Masai Mara with Brent Leo Smith. And if he can't find you a lion, he will find you a vista.
Hi, welcome to a very cold Masai Mara. The sun was blazing earlier, it was beautifully warm, and I didn't bring my jersey. But lucky enough, I brought my shuka. Now, we've been looking for lions, and we haven't had much success. And the reason is, mostly because the grass is so incredibly long at the moment, but Eggsy did pull off an absolutely magical spot. And we've got one of our dominant males that resides below our escarpment where we live, and there are said to be 4 of them. I've only ever seen 3 together, but he hasn't even moved. He's got a massively full belly, and I don't know how Eggsy managed to spot him. And as you can see, he's not so far off the colour of the grass. Yeah, so this is our big boy. So I said, some people say they're 4. I've only ever seen 3 together. And he is sleeping off a massive meal. Now, yesterday when we went on our very long mission across to the other side of the river and got caught in a massive storm, Nyala, Steph's wife, was in camp, and she said she heard buffalo distress calls coming from below the camp while we were away. So maybe that's what... Oh, the wind is really howling. So maybe that's what he's snacked upon. Now Karen's wondering, how does the climate in the Sabi Sands and Mara differ? Well, the best way to describe it is, Karen, we can go from about... Well, it never gets really around 30 degrees, but the sun is very, very harsh. I'm actually changing colours at the moment at a really rapid rate. Can't get it up there. But there we go, you can see I'm really changing colours very, very quickly, and we've got to put on sun cream about 20 times a day. But then one cloud comes over and this cold wind comes in and it's freezing. And of course, rainstorms all over the place. Look at this. There we go, you can see. Pretty much where we got stuck in a massive storm yesterday, there's another one. We were actually, no, we were further to the south, on the other side of that hill. Now, so it is very different because we are high altitude. Where we're sitting at the moment is probably about 1,600 meters above sea level, and where we live, which is up there on top of that cliff, there we go, that's actually Ngama. We live in the valley behind them. That is about 2,100 meters above sea level. So it's very, very high, and that's actually one of the reasons the Masai Mara is this absolutely incredible place. So we are surrounded by ancient volcanoes, and there's some active volcanoes less than 300 kilometers from us in Tanzania, around Natron, Older Lengai, where the Maasai's god lives, actually, up on top there. And basically what happened is all these massive volcanic eruptions have layered this whole plateau here below the escarpment that we're sitting on with really rich volcanic ash. Now this has happened a very long time ago, and over the years that ash has produced an absolutely exceptional climate for grass. Now, if you had to compare this to somewhere in South Africa that you might know, Dullstroom or somewhere up in the Drakensberg Mountains. Now, that's normally considered Sauerveld because the soils aren't as good, so you get mediocre grasses up there. But because of this volcanic ash, we've got really good soil for grasses, and because of the altitude, we get the rainfall. So most high altitude mountain areas in Africa get really good rainfall, but they do not have the soil types to hold thamida, basically the red oats grass they call it here. We call it Natal red grass in South Africa, and that is pretty much most animals' favorite food. So it is a product of geology, the Masai Mara, and being up high, it can get quite cold, but because we're on the equator, it's very, very similar. Our weather doesn't change much through the year up here. It is, at night it gets down probably in the early morning to about 8 or 9 degrees Celsius, and during the day, most days, it'll get up to about 27, 28. To go over 30 is abnormal, to go below 8 or 9 is abnormal. So it's a very, very temperate climate. But if you're used to living in very hot climates like me, it can get very chilly very quickly. But thankfully, I've got my shuka, and unfortunately, I'm not walking. So there's theories on, and I actually have to say I believe it completely. If you had to walk into a lion in this area wearing your shuka properly, like I am at the moment, and carrying a stick or a spear, the lions just absolutely disappear. They run away from you. They are so scared of the Maasai people. But I mean, that's thousands of years of history all playing into each other. So that's actually learned behavior. Because if you walked up to a lion in a shuka in the Sabi Sands, he would be like most lions are. Now, Len is wondering, will we be doing night drives? Yes, we most certainly will. Len, you must remember that we're just the forward team, and well, Dave's actually joining us today. Yeah, so and we've got Eggsy, Dave, Steph. Who else? We got Alex and Jared, who's new to the team as well, but you will get to meet him. He does complicated Wi-Fi stuff, which is over my head, and so that's our current team here at the moment. And Dave joins today, and then I think Rebecca's coming very, very soon. But once the rest of the team is here, we've still got 3 vehicles that are being finished up by VM. VM's also here, but he's in Nairobi doing what VM does best, cutting and welding and with spanners and ratchets and whatnot. So this vehicle, Chiku, is actually not going to be one of our normal presenting vehicles, but it was the first vehicle ready. It is actually going to be the tech vehicle, the backup vehicle. But we have made these holes in the roof. And so there we go, you can see a big hole in the roof and another hole in the roof for the camera. And then VM has welded, when he came down here for the TV shows, he took one look at the tripod setup and he was like, no. So he's actually bolted a pedestal into the floor of this car that we can mount the head of the camera on, so it's a bit easier to move. So we have this as our filming vehicle for now, and it is very exciting. And most of what we're doing at the moment is, of course, you wouldn't have been seeing too much of us in the shows, is we're exploring and also working out how to bounce things. Well, not me, I just drive the clever people around who work out how to make everything work. So it's actually a really big project, with the camp being built. That's what he thinks of the wind. And so it's really fascinating. And basically, well, we're also figuring out about the lion prides and stuff like that. And Eggsy, what is the most lions you've ever seen in one day? 36 lions. We saw 36 lions in total yesterday, and of course some of those sightings were in areas where we can't currently broadcast from, but that's one of the reasons we're here, is to work out where all the prides are, what are going to be the most important prides, where we have to focus our intentions on. So we saw, actually, after we saw Scar and one other musketeer, and thank you very much for sending the names of the musketeers in. I can only remember one now, which I think is Morani, which is obviously a young warrior in Swahili. Oh, and Hunter, but I've forgotten the 4th one's name. I will remember. Excuse me. Sorry. So as we were saying, so just beyond, after seeing Sky and them, we found the rest of the paradise females, 5 females and another 2 cubs, and they'd killed a buffalo right on the edge of the Mara River, and there was a crocodile trying to come up, and they chased the crocodile back down to the river. So I just got to now try to do my maths now. So we had 3 females and 6 cubs, and we had another 2 cubs with the second sighting, so that puts us at 8 cubs and 7 females that we know about so far in the Paradise Pride. Then, literally just beyond then, we saw more lions on top of a granite boulder we couldn't get up to, so we don't know how many were up there. But again, chatting to the head guides on both sides of the river and stuff, those are all Paradise Pride. So we're looking at over 10 females, probably close on 10, 11 cubs, and of course, the 4 musketeers. Now, they are dominating the main wildebeest crossing area, so obviously that's a very important area for us. So that's one of the areas we're going to be working in, and we're going to be actually going to go try and figure out how we're going to do that tomorrow. Now, I've completely forgotten, I got sidetracked on lions, but I got a question about brown hyenas, and I just can't remember who it was from. I'm sure FC are going to tell me, but we do have a bit of a delay. Were there any brown hyenas up in the mountains here? Now, no, there are no brown hyenas in East Africa. Night Warp was asking that. So there are no brown hyenas in East Africa whatsoever. They are truly a southern African species. The only place they sort of leave the real southern Africa is to go into Angola a little bit along the coast from Namibia. But, okay, now I've got to get my bearings correct. Okay, so, Eggs, you see this one tree here? So not this tree, the one tree. Okay, in the middle. That one, and we go beyond that tree and over that hill, and then slightly to the right there's a dip in that far line of hills. Okay, now there's a conservancy out there called Siana. There's a spring there called Siana Springs, and I actually went there when I was about. So jump onto Google, go have a look. Striped hyena. We're very unlikely to see them in the areas that we're operating, specifically down in the Masai Mara itself, because there's such a massive population of spotted hyenas. And there we go, Alan, thank you, I will get to you in a second. So there's such a huge amount of lions and spotted hyenas in the Mara itself, that the striped hyenas are generally in the conservancies on the peripheries, and this is right on the edge of a striped hyenas range. They then extend well up to north. Scott and Nikki get a lot of them where they are in Samburu, and they actually extend all the way through the Arab states and into India. So the striped hyena do come down that, but no brown hyena. They're exclusively Southern Africa. And Alan said Sikiu is the name of the fourth musketeer. Well, who knows what it means, guys? You've got to tell me what it means. I know what the others mean. Scarface is pretty obvious. Marani is a young warrior in Maasai. And Hunter, pretty self-explanatory. But Sakani, I'm not sure what that means. So if anyone knows what that means, hashtag Safari Live, let me know. Teach me, I want to learn with you. Isn't this exciting? We're live from the Masai Mara in Kenya, and we have the sleepiest male lion I have seen in a long time right next to us. Eggsy's smiling from ear to ear, and for those of you who haven't watched all our broadcasts from the Mara, Eggsy probably described his feeling of being in the Mara and driving around this exquisitely beautiful place and seeing these incredible animals. He says, I've been trying to figure out what it is that I've been feeling since I've been in Kenya, and he says it's like falling in love, and that it is. I mean, we are in probably one of the most spectacular places on the planet, and we get to share it all with you. And as we continue building and getting everything sorted, we will be able to share more and more of this incredible country and this incredible part of the world with you, and we're very, very excited to do that. Now, I don't think this chap is going to move at all by the time we have to get out of the park. So, I got sidetracked. Yes, we will be doing night drives. We're just waiting for the rest of the crew and the vehicles, and we will be starting to do night drives from then. We're going to have thermal cameras and all sorts of gadgets. It's just the best. And as I said, it's just absolutely exciting and amazing to be here. And you know what? I'll put up with the cold to see all the incredible stuff that's coming. We've got the migration coming. We've got to figure out all these lion prides, and I can't wait to do it all with you. Now, speaking of a flat cat, it sounds like James and I are on the same program this evening.
I do not believe everybody that Brent's cat is anything like as flat as my cat. I believe my cat to be the flattest cat in all the land. From here, from the south of Cape Agulhas to the northernmost tip of Africa, I believe this to be the flattest cat that there is on this great continent. 8,500 kilometers end to end, 5,500 kilometers from east to west. That there is the flattest cat in Africa, but for perhaps a dead one somewhere. The reason we're sitting here, of course, is because unlike Brent Leo Smith, I have not seen 36 lions over the last day. In fact, I haven't seen 36 lions this week. I haven't seen 36 lions this month, or indeed this year. This is the first lion I have seen in a goodly while, and so I don't care that it's flat. Frankly, as long as it is a lion, it can lie there for as long as it likes. I'm going to look at it, because there is one of the Birmingham boys, and of course, well, when you have a lion out here right now, you sit with it, no matter what. Now, I'm being slightly facetious, of course, but as you watch the round leaf teak leaf on the top right-hand side of your picture there, you may be able to see that the light is beginning to fade on it, and I think within about 20 minutes' time, that light will have gone completely, and the lion may then get up and instead of lala steam, which it's doing now, it may Hallerstimme, which means to cry powerfully. In other words, roar. So that would be quite nice. So I think we'll just sit here for a little while. If he doesn't do anything once the sun has gone down, we'll start making our way back towards home. But I think that he may get up and do something useful. We also have a lovely view of the sunset, don't we? Shall I just turn slightly? Can you get it? No. Fergus is very skilled. I'm sorry about the pole. We are a little bit boxed in by people here, so it's a bit difficult. But there's a lovely picture of the sun going down on the southern parts of Africa. And the Chitwa mast. I didn't see that when I told Fergus to turn towards it. Well done, Fergus. There we are. There's the sun going down. Now, in fact, it's going to be much less than 20 minutes. Of course, as we know, the sun will take roughly 4 minutes, or between 2.5, let's count it now, between 2.5 and 3.5 minutes from the time it touches the horizon to the time it completely disappears. Has it touched the horizon yet, Ferg? Not just yet. Right, let's just wait and see what it does. As soon as this chap is out of the sighting, I'm going to move forward and we'll have another watch. You may start your stopwatches now. Begin your stopwatches. I'm just going to wait for him to move and then I will move forward a bit. Just a few of his guests have been left on a ziziphus tree, so he's returning to pick them up. Right, there we go. Let me just sneak forward. I hope you've started your stopwatches. I don't think we're going to get a good view of him from anywhere. Sorry, Ferg. I know I'm making this extremely difficult for you. Okay, we get a view of both of them now. Alright, let's watch the sun now. The lion has not moved so much as a hair. Now, you started your stopwatches, did you? It's almost gone. There we are. Ooh. There it is. And as I say, just to be around a lion right now is very pleasant indeed, because there have been so very few and far between of late. There is a spider. Is there a spider there? No. I thought there might be a spider also enjoying the sunset there, but there doesn't seem to be. It's almost gone, everyone, and then we'll move around and see if we can't get a slightly better view of this Hallerstimme lion. I love how when it gets to this stage you can actually see it moving. It is just astonishing. Look at that. And no matter how you might want it to stay, of course, it never will. And there we go. It's gone. How long did that take, Louise? There, it's gone. Louise is going to wait for a viewer to let us know. I hope there is a viewer who timed it. I was going to start a stopwatch and then I had to move the car. Painted Wolf, you said 2 minutes. Okay, that's great. Marvellous. Well done. There is the mast again. Beautiful picture of the mast. That unfortunately has not fallen down. Okay, let's go a little bit around the corner here. The lion is there. And while we do that, I believe that as the sun has gone down, so the bushwalk wishes to bid you a fond farewell for the duration of the rest of the drive.
I do, but I want to tell you a story first. I'm still not entirely sure. Herbie is as inscrutable as always. So we've got the termites that have obviously built up their safety, or their sort of covering of dirt, as in the way that termites do, and they're basically using it to shelter them as they harvest the outside layer of the bark of the silver cluster leaf. Now Herbie tells me that the ladies in the community eat this covering, this outside covering, to the point that both Sebastian and myself put some in our mouths. Now I'm not Herbie swears blind he's telling the truth. Is it true, Herbs?
Yes.
It wasn't just to get us to put something sandy in our mouths.
No, they do.
They do. It's revolting. It tastes like sand. It's like eating beach sand.
Sure.
No. No, this is mental. Yuck. But it tastes, it's like, I promise you, it's like eating sand.
And they say it's good for your digestive system.
Oh, is that what it's for? Ugh. Apparently it's good for your digestive system. I think I'd take a stomach bug over that. How much do you need to eat?
They collect them in big buckets.
So Herbie says they collect them in big buckets. Well, there you go. I learned
The hard way.
the hard way something new today. My mouth's all sandy and crunchy and horrible. No, I swear I'd take the stomach bug. Herbie just takes it so stoically. Herbie's not bothered at all. Blech. Yuck. Oh man, they're so crunchy. I wonder what makes it different. What aspect of sticky termite glue makes it somehow better for your digestive system? There might be something in it, you know. I'm laughing at it. But who knows? And certainly, I mean, we know a lot of animals eat dirt. A lot of animals practice geophagy. I, for one, would sooner take an Imodium and a vitamin tablet. I'm not sold on the whole eating the termite sand off the silver cluster leaf. I've taken aboard many of Herbie's suggestions, but that one, Herbie, no. No. I'm not buying that one. Ever. I can't believe they collected in buckets. Anyway, on that somewhat absurd note, we always value Herbie's input and his wisdom and insight. I would never in a million years have guessed that somebody comes along and harvests the dirt from the termites. There you go, you learn. Do they go up to termite mounds and lick them too?
No, they'll only go for the
Only those ones. Interesting. Di, you say that you ate sand at the beach, not on purpose, it just went in your mouth. That happens. That totally happens. But this is a whole new experience for me. Anyway, I've learned something new today. I hope you have too. It's time for us to head on home. So we'll send you over to Tristan and James for the last few minutes of your sunset safari. It's not a few minutes. Last half an hour.
Well, yes, the last half of an hour that I was hoping was going to be far more successful. You may see that I'm off-roading, and that's because we had a report of a young female leopard that managed to try and kill a vervet monkey. Oh, there's a spider web, sorry Craig. And so we tried to come into this area and she ran off into that, which is pretty much the impenetrable fortress. So when really struggling to try and find her in amongst us, I went off on foot and I found her tracks, but she managed to kill apparently a baby monkey, which means that she can carry that quite easily, and I think it's Tiani, just judging by the size of the tracks and the fact that she has been hanging around Arathusa the last few days. So I'm going to do a little loop around here just to check if there's no further sign of her. If not, then I think we're probably going to have to call it a day in this area. Ultimately, even if we do find her inside that thicket, there is really no possible way to get a car inside there, so it's going to be a bit difficult. But it's good to know that she is in this area for tomorrow morning, because that little kill is not going to last her long, and means that tomorrow morning she might be still sitting somewhere here, she might go for water somewhere, and that will aid in us being able to potentially find her. It's a pity that there was such a thick area, and unfortunately what happened was there was a number of staff that heard the commotion and they came rushing out to see what was going on, and they saw the leopard, and I'm sure the leopard got a bit of a fright with so many people, and that's why it's run into the thickest bush possible. If it was Tiani, she's very relaxed with people on foot, but not if there's a lot of commotion, particularly if she has a kill. She's going to feel a little bit kind of wary of that, and she's going to then go straight into an area where she can feel safe, and there's no better area than a Gwari and Tamboti thicket on the edge of a drainage line. It really is an impenetrable fortress, so very, very tough to be able to see anything inside there. Like I say, we'll do one more loop, and if there is no sign of her, then I think, unfortunately, that's going to be that, which is sad because I really wanted to see her again. She's kind of teasing me at the moment. Every time I get whispers of her, then I come into the area and she tends to disappear. So I am hoping that she's somewhere here and will pop out for us. But at this stage, no luck. Now, as for handstands and alleviating stomach problems, I would imagine that Jamie is correct in that Imodium is probably a better option than handstands. So I would be in Jamie's camp on that one. Now I believe James is still with the Birmingham Mail, and I really hope he's going to get up and do something and potentially roar on this beautiful sunset. So let's go across to James and see what's going on.
Well, yes, I quite hope he gets up to do some roaring very shortly as well, but unfortunately what he did do was roll over and then sort of hug himself as though he was in need of a little bit of affection because his 3 brothers or coalition mates are nowhere around. And I think this is Tinyo, who you had this morning on the Chitwa airstrip. He's nowhere near the airstrip, by the way, that's why we took so long to find him. So who said he was near the airstrip obviously deserves to not have their supper tonight. But this chap is fast asleep. Hello, Bobby. Yeah, it's not actually ticks, it's flies. You say, is he dotted with ticks? Those are flies. And almost certainly there will be ticks in various parts of his body. There might be one there, actually. But they will normally be slightly hidden, so the difficult to reach areas that he has, like under his armpits or in his bottom, perish the thought. That might be that looks like a tick, actually. The largest, no, it's a fly. No, they won't. The ticks will be where it's difficult for him to reach, because they'll cause great itching and he'll scratch them off, you know, if he can reach the area. So it's normally the areas that he can't reach that would have ticks on them. Often the top of the head, sort of around about the eyes, where he's a bit obviously nervous to use his claws. He'll use his feet to sort of rub, and probably behind his ears as well and inside his ears. But I don't see any at the moment. His hair's looking a little bit, I don't know, matted and knotty. I don't think that he's been looking after it as well as he might. He had salon quality hair at one stage. I think it will be worth sitting here for the next few minutes and just to see if he doesn't get up. If he doesn't, we'll press on and see what else we can find. But maybe we'll sit here until it's dark, which will not be in very long. Hello, Adele in the United Kingdom. You say that, or you ask the question, have I ever had an unusual animal encounter before? I think I've had any number, Adele. We have unusual animal encounters almost on a daily basis. I'm slightly confused as to what you mean by unusual. Unexpected, perhaps. Maybe when an animal has behaved in an unexpected fashion. Yeah, we have that all the time. I can't think of anything specific naturally as I say that. But yes, often we will have unusual behavior. I mean, today we watched a male Impala in the middle of his rut trying to sort of chase some Nyala around, who paid him absolutely no attention at all, so he ran away in sort of embarrassment. That was unusual. I didn't expect to see that. What else would we watched a very young elephant the other day with a big bull. That was unusual. Didn't expect to see that. So I mean, we will see non-textbook behaviour almost on a daily basis, Adele. His very large feet there, of course, not moving along with the rest of his body. The only thing moving, the heaving of his diaphragm and his heart beating, probably fairly infrequently. I don't know what the heart rate of a big male lion is, but it probably is around 30, I imagine. Maybe 30 or 40 beats per minute. And you see his heart beating there, Ferg? I don't think we can we? I'd really be quite interested to know. You can, actually. Dum, 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 dum. Okay, so let's count it in 15 seconds. Here we go. Wait, let me get my watch, my timer out. When an animal is sleeping like this, best option to count its heartbeat. Alright, here we go. Stopwatch. Alright, hold still, Fergus. And 5, 6. You know whose heartbeat we're seeing now, of course, is Fergus's. Okay, let's try again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, 13 times 4 is 26, is 52. He's got quite a high heart rate. Alright, that's what I think it is, about 52 beats per minute. Yeah, Sylvia, I don't think he did. You say, did he leave his brothers for mating? No, I don't think any of the females are in estrus. The Nkuhuma Pride is lurking up on Buffelshoek, I think. No, they're in Simbambili, actually. And then the Styx Pride, both females have had babies, and so they're not going to be mating anytime soon. So no, I don't think he did leave the coalition for mating. They will often, here we go, he's going to hug himself again. They will often split up. In fact, very seldom are all 4 of them seen together. It really doesn't happen often at all. He says. That was a high action, wasn't it, Fergus? Did you, were you overwhelmed with excitement? Yes, I thought you might be. I had to just tell Fergus to calm down. Of course, hasn't been in this area for very long. You know, and to see lion action like this straight off the bat. Phew. You have come from Cape Town, exactly. Where nothing happens. Gosh, he really is. He's putting on a show for us today. So the sun has now gone down. You can see the light starting to fade. And the last time I watched a male lion in this light, he got up almost immediately and started yelling. It was on Seb's first drive after his long exile, self-imposed exile, I might add. I can hear now his throat going. So that's more to look forward to, further snoring noises. Oh, Here we go. Good grief. Look at that. He's moved his right front paw over the top of his left front paw. I just don't know. I don't know if I can cope. I may have to look away. Violet, you're wondering about the purple flowers around him, and I'm very pleased to tell you that I do know what they are. They are called Vernonia. Can you see any of them, Ferg? I can't see any Vernonias now. We seem to have lost them, Violet, but that's what they are. They're Vernonias. And more than that, I can't tell you a great deal about them. There they are. Oh, that purple flower is not a Vernonia. That purple flower is Solanum panduriforme in the top left-hand side. That is a poison apple. And then just pull focus back a bit further the other way. Yeah, no, there's other purple ones there in the middle. Those look a little bit like Hibiscus micrantha, but I don't think they are. I'm sorry, I don't know what those are. I can't get a good enough view of them. Anyway, 2 different species of purple flower around here. Hello, John. You're wondering how big a lion's heart is. Yeah, I couldn't begin to tell you, John. I'm afraid I don't know what the mass of a lion's heart would be. I suppose if you were to compare it to the human beings, given their energy needs and the shape of their bodies, I would imagine that it's probably proportionately larger than ours. So whatever a human being's heart weighs, given average male human being at around 75 kilograms, average male lion in this area probably around 180 kilograms. So we're looking at what, say, plus minus, not quite 3 times, so 2.5 times the size. So 2.5 times the size of our heart. I'm sorry, I'm just not sure what the mass of a lion heart is. But they don't have an enormous energy need, of course. Now, I'm pleased to say that Tristan is back on his car. I believe he went tracking in the dusk. Brave fellow that he is, and he would now like to show you the calming view of the wilderness that he is using to bring his heart rate back down to something approaching that this lion has.
Well, indeed, James, my heart rate was going very quickly because I got very excited about Tiani, but now it's all settling right down as we gaze upon the beautiful Drakensberg Mountains and the northern tip that is Mariepskop over there. You can see some distant lights flickering, which is some of the communities on the edge. But isn't that the most beautiful skyline? And it's so clear today because now as we go into winter, we start to lose a lot of the moisture in the atmosphere, and so the mountains become much clearer and more visible, and that light is absolutely incredible. So really very, very pretty, and it is a good way just to calm down, and that's why a lot of the tourist vehicles here will stop at this time of the day, and they'll have a gin and tonic or a drink of their preference and just gaze upon that because it's beautiful, it's quiet, all the birds are starting to quieten down, and now's the time that you'll often pick up the sounds of some of the predators. So you'll hear things like lions starting to roar, which hopefully James will have, or leopards starting to vocalize. So it's a good time just to be sitting and listening to the sounds of nature. Alright, but we're going to carry on because I want to try to get to the hyena den before it gets too dark, and I want to try to see if Ribbon and the cubs are there. So without further ado, onward and forward we go. But that was very pretty. Craig, did you like that?
Oh, that was good.
Oh, it was pretty cool. Which for Craig is like, that was the most amazing sunset. I'm so glad you stopped for me. Thanks, Tristan. It's a pleasure, Craig. No worries. Man of few words, Craig. Which is nothing wrong with that. It means that when you do say something, it's full of impact, really. It holds a lot of weight when you actually vocalize your opinion. Now, Craig, are we going to find hyenas or not? What do you think? Come on, Craig. You've got to put your money where your mouth is. Yes, you think they're going to be there?
Yeah.
Alright, I like the positivity, Craig. We need good vibes on this vehicle. That's what we want. We want to make sure that we have positive attitude positivity brings the sightings, Craig. Cynthia, you're wondering if I've ever seen an aardwolf before. Unfortunately, I haven't, Cynthia. I would really love to see one, but they don't occur in this part of the world. Now, Craig is behind the lens, and he's busy pointing at himself, smiling and showing his arms like he's the champion, because Craig apparently has seen one. Craig, where did you see one?
In Namibia.
In Namibia. Was it nice, Craig? Whoa, and Lou has seen one, so I'm the only one out here. I wonder if James Hendry has seen one. I unfortunately have not spent enough time in those drier, arid parts to have seen one, so I'm the odd one out. I have seen one in a zoo though, but that doesn't really count. You've got to see these things in the wild. Lou, did you see yours in the wild as well? Hopefully Lou saw hers in the wild, otherwise I've completely been horrible and nasty to her. So Lou, you saw yours in Pilanesberg. Ooh, that's a nice find in Pilanesberg. Well done, Lou. So that's very nice. I believe it's a beautiful animal. I've, like I say, never seen one, but those stripes and that kind of lighter colored fur seems really nice. And they obviously are quite similar to what the hyenas are, particularly the brown hyena. They have that same sloping back and general kind of look about them. Now we're going to have to dodge a little tree branch here. Thanks, elephants. But wouldn't it be nice? Imagine if one popped out here as we're going. These stranger things have happened. A few years ago there was a brown hyena that popped out onto Gari Main of all roads, the busiest road that we have in this northern sector, and for some reason was running along there, and it was actually captured by Peter Pretorius of Wild Earth, so that was pretty special. So you never know, maybe one day one of them will pop out. It would be quite nice if they did. I have, funny enough, seen a striped hyena though, so striped hyena is a little bit different, but that was up in East Africa. Ooh, Sylvia. This is a tough one because I have a few really sort of favorite sounds that I love to hear, and I struggle a lot with trying to decide which one is my absolute favorite. But I'll give you my top 5 because the 5 together really kind of top it off for me in Africa. And so number 1 I would say is probably the lion's roar. So hearing a lion roar at night, or even being in close proximity to it roaring, really sends home the message that you're in Africa and that this is what it's all about, and that sound is just so impressive. So I really love listening to lions roaring. Hyenas whooping, that's another just incredible sound, and it always reminds me of holidays with my grandparents to the Kruger National Park. And as kids we would go to these camps and we would get so excited that we would get to stay in the game reserve as children, and then you would hear the hyenas whooping at night, particularly around the Satara area, and it would fill you with excitement for the next morning if you were going to get to see them or not. And sometimes they'd come close to the camp gate fences and we'd all get very excited. So the hyena whooping. Then the Scops owl. The Scops owl is also one of my favorite. It just for some reason reminds me of the bush. You really only hear it when you're out in the bush, and it reminds me of so many good memories of sitting around a fire with friends and family and having, you know, just conversations and a really good time and listening to that little owl in the background. And it was the first owl that my grandfather ever showed me, so he was able to call and make the sound that the Scops owl makes, and it came out and we got to see it. And as a little kid I thought that was fantastic, and I was really quite chuffed and amazed that my grandfather could do it. And fourth I would say is the sound of elephants rumbling. Sitting in amongst a herd of elephants and just feeling all that rumble around you is one of the most amazing things. Now when I was in Kenya at the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, I used to stay next to the stockades there where the elephants were, and you used to hear them rumbling all around you at night, and it was just the most incredible lullaby to fall asleep to. So that would be my fourth best sound. And then the fifth one, which is a strange one, but is fiery-necked nightjars. And again, that's just because it's synonymous with the bush. And so those 5 for me, and a combination of them, really just remind me of being out in the bush with so many different people and having good times with everyone. And so Lou says when I'm finished talking about this I can go across to James Hendry, who has a lion that is being quiet.
The lion is rolled onto his back, as you can see, and that's all he's done. He's got 2 minutes before we leave him. If he does not react in some way in the next 2 minutes, we are going to start the car and drive away, because he's really not showing a great deal of sort of life signs. I think maybe at 6 o'clock when it's fully dark he'll get up and do something. But we, of course, by then will be finished. So let's give him 2 minutes. Thereafter, we will get moving and see what else we can see out here in the darkness of the night. And the guests with us, I mean, there are a number of guests watching, one of whom is a long-time viewer. She said hello to us. I think they're going to... No, they're not. They're going to leave now. So we'll just move position slightly. Oh, there's some head movement there. Do you see that, Fergus? Overwhelming. I think as soon as this vehicle has left, we're going to do the same. It's always so nice. There's a viewer on the back of that car, like I said, and she doesn't send in questions. So often people don't. And I said, do you send in questions? She said, no, I'm too scared. I said, well, you must send in questions. Anyway, she's only out here because of this, and that's why we do what we do. I'm sad this Birmingham didn't honour her slightly more than he's done for us. Right, we'll move around the side of him. If he does not move right now, we are going to leave. Are you going to move? Or are you going to lie there like a semi-recumbent blancmange? You are going to lie there like a semi-recumbent blancmange. And apparently you're all encouraging him to move. Well, encourage him with greater enthusiasm. Come on. Come on now. Louise, this is your call. You tell me if I must leave or not. Come on. Come on, boy. Right. Louise, just get out of there. This lion's not doing anything. Okay, we're off. See what else we can find. We'll fire up the rest of the lights. All 700 of them or so. Ooh. And get out of here. Right, we're going across to Tristan now, who has had much more success than I have. He has managed to find himself a hole in a termite mound that he knew was there.
Well, James, if you can consider that a success, then yes, I have had a lot of success. There is a gaping hole in the mound with nothingness, and that's pretty much the story of this afternoon for me, I'm afraid. Everywhere we've gone, it just seems to be chasing tails everywhere when it comes to predators. Other than the ellies, we've been really struggling along. Now, unfortunately, there's no sign at our den. You can see it's all very, very quiet, and the main hole on the other side, unfortunately, has nothing too. So we shall just carry on ambling along. The thing is, though, it's not all doom and gloom, is that there was fresh tracks this morning, so I'm hoping that maybe Jamie or James will come here first thing in the morning, because I'll be on a walk tomorrow, and maybe they'll get lucky with these hyenas here first thing tomorrow morning. So, right, now let's carry on. I think we've got to try and pull a rabbit out the hatch here and get a last minute leopard. What do you think, Craig? You did want a leopard, so come on, Craig, we've got to try and find one. Where do you think we should find a leopard? I think we're going to drive a road that nobody's driven for a while. Let's take this little link road that's called... Well, actually, let's take Rebecca's. Let's take Rebecca's to Zoe's. Maybe we'll get lucky there, Craig. And see if we can't find ourselves a leopard on the way home. And if we can't find a leopard, maybe a chameleon or a Bushbaby. That would be quite nice too. Ooh. Well, S, you are coming to Kruger next week, you lucky fish. I hope you're going to enjoy it. I hope you're going to be... Elizabeth. Okay, sorry, it's Beth. I'm sorry, I thought I heard S. You're saying you're coming to Kruger next week and you want to know what the weather is like. Well, Beth, to be honest, the Kruger has been a sort of unpredictable beast the last few weeks. We shouldn't have had any rain recently, yet we have had it, so it's difficult. But what I would say, and I don't know if you watched yesterday's Sunset Safari and James Henry's full-on description of safari attire, but I would say bring warm clothes. It is starting to get quite cold, so a good warm jersey. And I'm not sure if you're going to be going to one of the private game reserves, or if you're going to be on an open game drive vehicle, or you're just doing self-drive. So if those will all help in sort of determining what you need. But a warm jersey for the evenings. As you can see, I've got gloves on this evening because it's starting to get quite chilly, and the mornings are definitely needed if you are in an open vehicle. I would also say a woolly hat, like a beanie, if you're going to be coming in an open car, because it does get quite cold around the ears as you drive along. And then during the day, the temperature has been very pleasant, so it's been quite nice. I'm wearing shorts and I was in a t-shirt most of the day, so it was very pleasant during the day. The unfortunate thing is we have had a few of these little cold fronts nipping in, and that sometimes brings a bit of adverse weather. So I would say be able to bring enough clothes that you can dress like an onion, and that's as it gets a little bit cooler, so you can then take off layers and be warm enough, or cool enough should I say, to deal with the temperatures. Now we have got a Nightjar on the road, so I'll get back to the rest of it now, Beth. But there we go, there's a Nightjar sitting in the road. So we were talking about the sound of said Nightjars earlier. Hello. Now to actually identify Nightjars is one of the most difficult things that one can do. You have to use the white on the tail. So you can see at the edge of that tail there's a little white feather, and as they fly, the amount of white within the tail will determine a lot of them. So it's really quite tough to actually sort of identify them other than by their calls when they fly like that. So in all likelihood it could be a fiery neck nightjar, which is the one I was talking about earlier, but it also could be the square-tailed, so it's very, very difficult to say. We'll try and see if we can't find it somewhere else and maybe get a positive ID on it. But Beth, yeah, like I say, I would bring clothes enough for warm weather. Oh, that's a nice picture. Well done, Craig. Well spotted. Sorry, Beth, the birds are interrupting us here, but there is such a beautiful picture of the ground hornbills that are perched in this tree with the sunset colors in the background. It really is very, very pretty. So look at that. Isn't that amazing? So those ground hornbills have now come and sat up in that tree to spend the night, and they'll roost up there. And if you come here first thing tomorrow morning, I wouldn't be surprised that they're still sitting in the same tree. And we'll hear them calling, and especially in the early hours of the morning, we'll hear them. Now, I believe James has got something that likes to move around very, very quickly and jump around all over the place. So let's quickly go across to him.
Not this one. This particular one doesn't like to move around. It seems to be completely static, as it were. And I think it's probably just woken. Oh, no, now it's moving. You still see it? No. You got it. Oh, there it is. Well done. Look, he just found himself something to eat. He used his little hands. Oh, they're so cute. That's wonderful. Beautiful. Very special indeed. He's just finding himself some little insects, a few, he's just finding himself some gum now, I suppose, because the insects are starting to dissipate. This is a great Bushbaby sighting. This really is fantastic. Yes. And there he's gone. No, he's still up. Just see the leaves moving there. Wow, that was very special. Now, we have had reports of the Styx lionesses on Gowrie Main Road, but Gowrie Main Road is a very, very long road. Louise, where are you getting your information from? From Tristan. Are we going to Tristan? Alright, dodgy signal. We'll find out what's going on with those lions.
Well, James, be careful of those gremlins. Gowrie Main is full of them, and so hopefully you don't find too many. And I believe it was the Styx females that came out onto Gowrie Main there somewhere, which I would imagine is going to be quite a busy sighting, because I know there was quite a few vehicles that were looking for them at one stage, so hopefully James is able to get in there and be able to find them. But it does bode well for tomorrow morning, because if they go south, that is into Cheetah Plains or into Chitwa, and so both of those areas are places that we can drive, and so that is in our traverse, and hopefully that they won't move too far and we'll be able to find them tomorrow morning if James cannot get there today. Now, we've left our ground hornbills because I didn't want to disturb them. That's ultimately where they are roosting for the night, and we don't want to chase them off, that they have to find somewhere else and fly in the dark. It's not easy for a ground hornbill to fly at the best of times, so we don't really want them flying at night. So that's why we left them alone, but that was quite pretty. Now, I'm hoping that I was going to bump into some leopard at some stage in this area. It's an area that we haven't been checking nearly as much as some of the other parts of Djuma, because we've been checking so much around Twin Dams and Treehouse because of the movements of Shongile and Hosanna, that this area gets a little bit neglected. So that's why I'm just checking. Now, James is trying to find out which radio channel. So Lou, the radio channel was on this northern channel, on channel 1. So you can let James know on channel 1. Now, I wonder if there's going to be any chameleons in store for us. Ah, James Richard, yes. Well, James, I can attest to the fact that Tingana is a last-minute leopard. When the other day when we were doing our closing, and he decided to walk right behind us, and none of us even noticed while we were busy finishing the show that he had walked behind us until afterwards, when we spotted him going off on the grass on the side. So I don't know where he is. I was still convinced it was him that was calling this morning. I was convinced that he was the one that was calling around sort of central, that area. I don't know if any leopard was seen on dam cam last night. It would surprise me a lot if he didn't make an appearance on the dam cam, if he was on central, because his normal route is past Gowrie Dam and then down central and into the eastern side of the property. But it was definitely a male leopard calling from there. Maybe it's Djuma, like I was saying earlier. It could be that there was a female around, and we know there's been this young female that's unknown, that's been mating with Tingana, and so she might be scent marking, and that's causing Djuma to come slightly out of territory into this area, and that maybe it was him that was calling. But yes, it would be nice to see Tingana pop out. We're coming up to a Balanites tree that he's been seen in before, and does often utilize this as a patrol route as well. So it's also why I'm in this area, just to take a little scan around and see if he's not potentially moved around here. He's that sneaky that you can find him in the most random places, and he does like to pop out. So it would be nice sort of change of our luck to actually find him out and about. The other problem that we've got is that there's just so many elephant tracks on the road. It's impossible to actually see any tracks for a leopard in some of these roads. It just looks like one big elephant footprint. Now, the tree that I was talking about is over there. So that's our torchwood tree that I was talking about, Tingana utilizing every now and then. It's also Brent's tree. That's the one that Brent fell out of a few months ago. So I always remember Brent when I drive past that. Now, Sylvia, you say if we hear sounds at night, do we sometimes go and investigate? Well, Sylvia, sometimes we take the rest of the crew out. So we've got, the ladies in FC and some of our tech guys, and we try and get them out and about to try and see what's going on. So if we hear a leopard calling close to the camp or lions, then we will. The problem is that after 11 o'clock there comes a curfew. Now, the curfew is designed to get all the cars off the roads so as to make sure that we don't have an issue with poachers, so they know if they see any lights or moving around that there can't be any of the staff. And so after 11 o'clock we can't go out, and then again we can only get out at 5 o'clock. So it means that during that period, no, we don't go out at all, and we don't go and investigate any sounds. But prior to that, yes, sometimes we do. If we hear things that are of interest, if we hear lions hunting, buffalo or something like that, we will go and check it out and take the rest of the crew with us, so that they also get a chance not to see the animals on a screen but actually in real life as well. So it is important and imperative that us as presenters don't hog all the fun with the cameraman, and that we actually do take the others out and about and let them experience the wilds of Africa as well. It's quite something to live out here, but to actually spend a little bit of time driving around and seeing some of it is also quite important too. So Joshua, leopards will indeed follow the same route. You'll find that like Tingana is a creature of habit. We see him often walking the sort of same pathways, and it won't be the exact same every single time, but it's a general kind of pattern that he'll follow. So he has certain places that he likes to scent mark, that he knows are areas that are often utilized by female leopards or other leopards, and there's favorite water holes that he likes to visit, favorite places where he knows he can find potential prey items, and so he'll follow those routes fairly often. And you'll find that the movement of these cats sometimes can be quite predictable, and you can find that if he's coming, we know if he comes from the south, often he'll cross at either Twin Dams or Weaver's Nest, and he comes up those roads up towards Quarantine and Gari Dam, and then he either goes up to Central and then Gari Cutline into Buffels Hook area, or he'll come up via Tele Access and then he goes up on a little loop towards Sydney's Dam and then into Simomili via One-Eyed Pan. So he's got that route that he walks, and then he's got a route that he walks in the south where he goes from Chitwa across Little Gari, across Hoffmans into Arathusa, on Arathusa airstrip, cuts north and comes up along Pump Track, from Pump Track onto Zebra Drive onto Matundaluka Pan. Matundaluka Pan, he then cuts onto Red Dam and then back up onto this area. So he's got those kind of routes that he often follows, and you drive those routes often enough, you'll find his tracks fairly regularly there. The female leopards, I find, tend to be a little bit more unpredictable than the males. They tend to move around sort of with a little bit more variety, and it's probably because they do a lot more hunting for the cubs and they hide their cubs in certain places, and that means that they don't kind of just do territorial patrolling. They're actually having to sort of find new and innovative places for the cubs to stay safe that hyenas and varying other predators can't find, and so you find that their movements tend to be a little bit more unpredictable. And you've seen it a lot when Salahesh was denning at Simambili. We used to find her moving around in the most odd ways, and she used to use a different route back to the den almost every single time, and the reason why is because often hyenas used to follow her. So if she used to use the same track all the time, hyenas would very quickly pick up that there's a leopard moving up and down there, and they would then find her and be able to then follow her back to the den. Whereas now they can sort of, she comes back in different directions. It becomes a little bit more difficult for the hyenas to actually work out where the den is. So it's interesting just to see the differences between the two. Now we're going to slowly head back home and try and see if we can't go and find some delicious dinner that Amanda's going to make. And while we do that, let's go back to James for the last few minutes.
Linking. Hello everybody. Sorry, I was just telling Fergus that we were linking there. Obviously you heard that, because Fergus was having a, I don't know who, I think he may have been talking to himself. Anyway, you were. Right, good. Well, I'm glad you've ceased. They do say, of course, that talking to yourself is the first sign of madness. Or genius, is that what they say? Yes.
Thin line between.
It's a thin line between madness and genius, yes. I suppose that it is. I, of course, have been talking to myself for years. I put it down to madness, not genius. That lion did not move, as you saw, everybody. We saw the Bushbaby, and I will report to you that the Styx Pride have been found, but it is on Cheetah Plains, and therefore it is impossible for us to get there before the end of the drive, which is now in roughly 90 seconds. Ah, you see, I was 13 seconds out. It's been a very pleasant drive this afternoon. The most gorgeous afternoon, and it's this time of year that I really love the afternoons. The heat is gone, and yet everything just feels wonderful, and it's very difficult to describe. This is where that huge elephant herd was this morning that we followed. And I think before I go down the dip here, I shall turn the car, turn my lights off so that you can see the last dim glowing of the horizon in the background, turn my face towards you and say, that will be it from us today. Thank you very much for coming on our drive with us. Thank you, Fergus, for your efforts. Big thank you to Jamie and Tristan, of course, and to Louise in the final control, ably assisted by goodness knows whom. I think it was probably Kirsten McSmeeth. Do not forget, tomorrow morning at 06:30 we will see you again for the dawn and the sunrise safari. Until then, stay safe and happy, and we will see you then. Bye bye.